Election day is finally here. The nominees use their last day on the trail to pitch their tax plans for the last time. Watch.
As part of our plan to bring back jobs, we are going to lower taxes on American business from 35% to 15%. We will massively cut taxes for the middle class.
I have proposed a very simple formula. I will not raise taxes on anyone making less than $250,000 a year. And for small businesses, we're going to cut your taxes because I know a lot of small businesses need that kind of tax relief.
Let's bring in Maya MacGuineas. She is the president of the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. Maya, good to see you.
Nice to be with you.
So I know what you've said in terms of what these plans, these economic plans are going to do for the debt. Which candidate do you think has the best tax plan for the middle class? Let's talk taxes for a moment, Maya.
Absolutely. So one of the really discouraging things is that at a time when our tax code desperately needs to be reformed, I don't think we've had any real credible tax reform plans put forward. And let me explain that. I think Donald Trump has focused tremendously on tax cuts, bringing the rates down, but because he doesn't talk about how he would broaden the base, what tax breaks that currently exist that he'd be willing to get rid of, his plan would cost trillions and trillions of dollars at a time when our debt is at near record levels. It's really not affordable, and it would actually hurt the economy. Even though you cut taxes, the increased debt would harm the economy. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, on one hand has kind of walled off a group of people saying, I won't raise taxes at all, and on the other hand has a lot of tax increases to pay for her many spending increases, but they almost feel punitive, making this group pay more, making this group pay more. What we need is a plan that would say, this is how much we need to raise in revenues to pay for our spending. This is the most efficient way to do it, and you want to tax more of things you want less of, and tax less of things you want more of. There's so many ways to reform our tax code, mainly by looking at the $1 trillion in tax breaks we have a year. Which ones might we get rid of? They're not working very well. But there's been no discussion of that, really going through the tax code, figure out what's working, what's not, and make changes in a way that would help grow the economy and be fiscally responsible. So there's a lot of work to do on tax reform.
Maya, Hillary keeps saying she's lowering taxes for small business. But if you're raising taxes on anybody with $250,000 in income, that means you're raising taxes on small business, not cutting taxes. So I don't understand what she means when she says we're cutting taxes on small business, when her plan says the opposite.
You're not alone in not understanding what her small business tax plan would be, because her business tax reform plan overall has the least details of any of her tax plans. She's actually said that overall business tax reform would generate revenues to pay for some of her spending priorities, but nothing has shown how she would do that. So her rhetoric and the numbers, this is the place, overall she has very detailed plans. This is the place where she has shown the least detail, and she hasn't really focused on business tax reform as a priority, which is interesting because it's something actually both Republicans and Democrats have been interested in doing before, business tax reform. We've heard less about it from her as an actual priority and much less in terms of details.
Maya, it's Dagan McDowell. In terms of being a Democrat, she's very predictable on the spending, and that's not cutting it and increasing it. I think it's about $1/3 trillion on infrastructure, $1/3 trillion on family leave, and then about $0.5 trillion on this college plan that she has. And even with the revenue increases through the tax increases, it still adds to the debt.
So her plan would add to the debt slightly, I would say. It would add about $200 billion, which we cannot afford, because keep in mind, before we do anything, we'll be adding $9 trillion to the debt over that 10-year period. So we should be talking about bringing that number down, not adding more. But she would spend a lot, and she would, for the most part, pay for it, though not entirely. But the problem is that spending and those tax increases leave very little room left to do anything about the other parts of the debt. I think what we should be talking about is, what are our priorities for spending? I think there are a lot of unmet priorities in this country in terms of investment needs, but we're spending so much on the other things. The big missing issue of this campaign, entitlements. How do we think about what our budget should really be focusing on?
Hey, Maya, let's look past the election for a second and what they've put out before the election. How do you assess the political climate in Washington after the election? Is there going to be any room for a Clinton presidency or a Trump presidency to work with a Congress that's been in a state of turmoil itself towards some kind of grand bargain to address the issues that you're talking about, tax reform, entitlement reform, spending priorities? Are they going to be able to get any work done?
It is such a good question, and I'm so concerned about it, because as we move from the election to governing, nothing has prepared the country to come together and, importantly, that's something you have to do on the issues I talk about on fiscal issues, make some hard choices. This has been an election that has, one, been absolutely toxic. We all know that. But two, has also been completely about giveaways. Nobody has really stood up and leveled with the American people. Not only are we trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, we're on an automatic pilot plan where our debt's growing faster than our economy. We're giving more and more to these programs that's squeezing out other parts of the budget. And we have to make some changes, and they will not be easy. We cannot purely grow our way out of the problem. We have to grow our way. We have to have economic growth, but it won't fix it. And so I do think that it's really troubling. There is no mandate to sit down and think about how to address some of these issues. I don't even think a grand bargain is anywhere in the realm of possibility. The question is, are there any mini bargains they might be able to get done? And I do think we're in for a hard period as things get started, no matter who is president. And the question is, will there be enough leadership, education of the voters, and bipartisanship to deal with some of these issues? But we have to stop pretending there's a free lunch here. We have to make budgets are about trade-offs. We have to confront some of those trade-offs as a country that is right now on an unsustainable path.
Yeah, really an extraordinary situation we find ourselves in. Maya, good to see you. Great analysis as always. We appreciate it. Maya MacGuineas joining us right there.